Smashed hearts. I better see hundreds of smashed hearts, hundreds of smashed likes. All right. Let's bring the man, the myth, the legend. This guy is 24 years old now, making $60,000 a month. All because he made a simple decision. You see, success is just a choice. You choose if you are going to acquire more advanced sales ability, or if you're just going to keep selling and hope and pray it works out the way you've been doing it. You choose that. No one else forces you. So we're going to talk about why Jacob chose, and we're going to give you some nuggets here today. All right, Jacob, are you on?
Yeah. Can you hear me and see me all right?
I can see you, brother, Mr. Under Armour over there. All right, Jacob, you're a young lad, 24 years old. You know, I remember I got into sales. My first job in sales was a door-to-door sales job. And I was almost 22 years old. So I was like right around your age. So everything that's going on, what I was thinking, I was so new. So let's hear a little bit about your background for a couple minutes. And then we're going to give everybody some really good golden nuggets. Now, Jacob has assured me that he will give you some golden nuggets of what we've taught him today that will help each of you some more of what you have right now. Okay, Jacob, you haven't been in sales for very long. Tell us how it all got started for you.
Well, I was just working one day and we came into the office and, you know, that was all she wrote pretty much as we got laid off. Not too much work. And
so you're an electrician, like manual labor, right?
Yeah, I was wiring stuff up, doing a bunch of like PLC programming. It's all the nitty gritty hard work.
Okay.
Breaking the back.
So you're breaking the back. You get laid off for whatever reason. And why did you? And tell us what industry you're in. Let's make sure everybody knows what you actually sell.
Financial service, life insurance.
Okay, so you sell life insurance, mortgage protection, IULs, final expense insurance for funeral expenses. So, you know, life insurance in general, there's different aspects of it. So tell us what got you from going from an electrician to sales. Like what happened there?
So I always was listening to like podcasts and stuff to do things, be like an entrepreneur. And it was actually like Brad Lee's podcast. It was like,
I'm good friends with Brad. I love Brad. Brad's a nice guy for sure.
It was him and Sean Mike for like FFL to do like life insurance.
What's FFL? Probably most people on here wouldn't know what that is.
Family First Life. It's an
so that's like a life insurance company, right? Okay, so he was interviewing somebody on his podcast that owned a life insurance company. And what caused you to be like, hey, I'm going to go sell that randomly?
I filled it out and I was like, screw it. I was like, I got nothing else to do. So I literally did everything, passed the test, got my license. I was like, all right, now what do I do? Okay. I got a script that they gave me and I was practicing it. I had to buy leads. They said, buy more leads all the time.
So you had to buy leads, smile until you dial. That's how most people get trained in any industry, but especially that industry.
That's truly it. That's literally all I did. I woke up 5 a.m., did my thing, role played, practiced the script, did all that every single day. And I was like, man, there has to be a little better way. And I stumbled.
So how did you do with the script that the company gave you? Like, be honest, be real, be vulnerable. What happened the first 2-3 months?
I can tell you, I did make a sale my first week. I'm not gonna lie, I did, but it wasn't like, it was just a laydown. There was
you made one sale. They just showed up. They were going to buy no matter what.
Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy. It was just.
Now, can you make a lot of money making one final expense insurance sale a week?
No,
probably not.
Okay. Especially if you got to buy leads as well. They're like, I know, like I used to spend $1,000 a week just to make that back. Like I used to
spend $1,000 on leads to make $1,000 in sales. So you basically were making zero money.
No, I made zero in the beginning years. Not the beginning years, the beginning months. It was just, it truly was rough. It's because there were so much factors that everything.
How did your like the way you were forced to sell? Was it like pushy, aggressive? Like what was it?
Like to be honest, I never sold anything. I never was in sales or like did anything like it. So I just like kind of read the script and just did it. That was it.
Kind of winged it, read the script and winged it. And then how did your prospects react to you?
Like every time, like, oh, I'm not interested. They just give me so much pushback. Like I didn't even know how to disarm them.
So so immediately in the first 30 seconds, like, oh, insurance not interested, or somebody called us, so we already had that.
Oh, absolutely. All those, face them all day. I know I'd spend like 400, 800 dials a day just trying
Wow.
to like talk to like 5, 6, 7 people.
So
And
the guard would just go up
oh
immediately.
yeah, absolutely. And it just wasn't till like I came across like Instagram posts or something that like this cool guy named Jeremy Miner,
I'm not that
and
cool, man, but thanks for the compliment.
and he was like dropping little hors d'oeuvres, as he would say. And
Okay,
I
so you
just
started following me on like Instagram, or you saw a bunch of reels.
yeah,
Okay.
and I just started taking the free stuff,
Mhm.
putting it into the script, and it started to work. And
Yeah.
then I was at the gym the one day, and
Yeah.
you said something that really struck me, and I was like, I am. It was like, you don't have the skill. Like, how much money are you actually losing?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have the right skills. And I just started thinking about it. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
that's
true because when we do reels and free content, I want to
Mhm.
make sure everybody understands like we're just giving you nipples. We're not even teaching the NEPQ sales process. We're just giving you a few tips. So if
Mhm.
you had a few tips and you don't understand everything from A to Z, you're just losing sales every day that our clients like Jacob and thousands of others, they're
Right.
making those same sales every day because they understand everything. Everybody that's going through free content, I hate to tell you this, but you understand about 0.0001%, not even a tenth of 1% of NEPQ that our clients go through in our virtual training platforms and our group training by me and our sales trainers. It's just a 9-day difference. Okay, so you're like, oh shit, I'm just losing a ton of money. It doesn't make any sense for me to call leads all day and get smashed in the face when I could be making those sales. So you
That's
got into
exactly.
like NEPQ 3.0 or Inner Circle. I can't remember where you started.
I did 3.0, and then I met some people, networked, and just finally found like a group of people that I
Yeah.
was able to like surround myself with. We
Yeah.
dialed and we just trained every single day, and
So
we
you got
got
into advanced NEPQ 3.0. You met Caden, some other of our top
Mhm.
clients and all that stuff. Tell us what, and that was, I think, in July of last year. So about 10 months ago? Well,
Ju-
about 11 months ago.
July was the first like day I started, and I
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your progression. Like what happened, from the day you get into 3.0, what happened 60 days later? Where were you at? You went from
I
making zero money to where?
I could tell in like the first like week or so, like I like changed everything to NEPQ, and I don't know because I might have jumped the gun real quick, and it didn't work out because I was all over the place. But after that first month, everything just like I was like, oh, I finally made some profit. I got 1,000, and then everything just started slowly increasing
Yeah.
to where we are now.
Yeah. So now if you spend $1,000 a week, you can make $20,000 a week in profit. It's a big
Yes.
difference. So you net
Oh,
19,000 a week or whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So people, how did people started reacting to you and like they were, how was it different? How did they react to you initially compared to when you,
I don't even know what a I don't even get like I need to think about it or like I didn't feel this out. I'm not interested. I don't even face that anymore.
so you've learned how to, the techniques we touch in the virtual courses and the group training, how to disarm them where they let their guard down.
Yes.
Is it easier to sell when the prospect lets their guard down and just opens up compared to them being guarded and surface level the whole time?
Yes. I can confirm that. The also the income level says that as well.
Gonna go out on a limb, possibly, just maybe, potentially, that could be the case. All right. And then you started, you were selling final expense, mortgage protection, because, those are smaller policies.
Mhm.
And you started doing really well there because I think you were selling like one or two a week before NEPQ. And then you started selling two every day.
Yeah, everything just slowly started progressing to like some days I got 3, 4. It just everything really started to incline like the later in the
Okay,
months.
perfect. And then what was it like maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago? You started getting, because it's a progression. You don't
Yeah.
learn everything in the first month or the first 2 months or even the first 3 months. Like every month, if you stay in the virtual training courses and on our group trainings with, as a client with our trainers and stuff, you just progressively get better every week, every month. And so
Yes.
then you started acquiring a much higher advanced sales ability where you could start selling IULs, which is, much harder to sell, right?
Mhm. I would say so because I feel like you need your teeth kinda kicked in a little bit to be
Yeah.
able to get to
Because
where
you're
you
dealing
need
with a different type of prospect. You're dealing
absolutely.
with a far more financially successful prospect that they're not going to just lay down. Right.
Right.
And, I saw you post the other day, you made like $120,000 sale. Tell us about that.
Yeah, because we do generate our own leads, so they come in, we call them up. So kinda how like the process works is we do like a triage,
Yeah.
And then from the triage, we do a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Just it's
Like a 2-call close.
two-call call.
Triage to make sure that, you can help them build a little bit of a gap. So they
Absolutely.
book into a Zoom call so you can be more personal with them and go
Mhm.
over everything. And what happened with this $120,000? What type of prospect were you talking to?
Just an older guy that just wanted to kind of just put his money away to secure it, to
Yeah.
have like a retirement, but
Yeah.
also to like maybe have a little bit more status. Because when you put 20,000 away, what else do you kind
He's
of do?
putting 20 grand every month into it. So that's $120,000 policy, I think, or something like. Is that what?
It's 240,000 like
Oh, it's
AP.
240. Okay,
Yeah,
that's right. Okay.
240,000 like annual premium. And
So
then
with that, the insurance companies pay you like what, almost 100, like what, 80 to 100% of that the first year.
yes, you get like expedited like the 10 months of it, and then
Yeah.
the rest of it is
Yeah,
20.
they pay like 90 to 100% that first year because they make all their money after year number 1, right? So
Yes.
basically what you're telling us is you made about a $240,000 commission.
It's 100,000.
Oh, it's 100. Okay.
Yeah.
100, between 100 and 110,000, right? It's 50.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. A little bit different there. Okay. How does it feel to make $120,000 commission?
Feels good. It does. I don't think I would have been able to do it any other way.
Would you have been able to make that sale a year ago?
No way.
Okay. That's opportunity cost. See, that's what I meant on the podcast. How much money are you losing every day, every week, every month, every year, because you haven't acquired the right skills, the skills that work with human behavior? See, that would have been $120,000 commission you would have lost.
And even like what I did lose in the past of not having the right skills.
Yeah. So everybody, you have to decide, like which is more expensive in your mind? Is it more expensive to get the funding together? You come in, you invest in NEPQ 3.0, you acquire the right skills. So you know what to say on the phone, you know what to ask, you know how to disarm your prospects, and you start selling 5 to 10 times more than what you are. Or is it more expensive for you to do nothing at all, stay in the status quo, keep selling the same way you always have been, and nothing ever changes? Which is more expensive? See the difference, everybody? All right, now, Jacob, let's give him some goods. I promised I'd give some goods.
Okay.
All right, let's start off with some, like, typically in your industry, because your industry's, we train 158 different industries. Your industry is the largest. It's either the first or second largest we train of all 158. Okay, so we train tens of thousands in your space. There's typically about 4 connection questions you're going to use in your space, but give them just one, because I'm not going to have to give them everything.
Okay.
You paid for that, so you can't give away everything. Give them maybe one good connection question and how your prospects respond to that.
Okay. I like after you say the opening, great. Now, in terms of the IUL, like, were you looking for anything specific, or what is it exactly that you're looking for?
Okay. And why do you ask it? Why do you ask that question? Just tell us how do they respond to that?
Well, they usually respond with like, okay, I want to like leverage my money, retirement, or more information.
So it's just a connection question. What it does, it's actually the second connection question for your industry for IULs, where we teach you how to take the focus off you and put it automatically on them, where it just flips the script where you're taking like frame control, but in a way where they feel they're in control, but you really are in control. They feel like they are, but you're really in control. So where you look at do that question again.
Like, now, in terms of the IUL, like, were you looking for anything specific, or what is it exactly that you're looking for?
Now, notice how Jacob says that in a curious tone. Why do you use a curious tone there?
Because we're still new. We don't know each other, and I want them to like let their guard down.
Yeah, because in the beginning, you're going to use more of a curious tone. You're not going to have a skeptical or challenging tone when they don't have much trust or credibility with you. They're on a call with you, right? They just barely met you, right?
Yeah.
Now, are you looking for anything specific, or what are you actually looking for as far as XYZ? And see, even his facial expression changed. Now, he's on Zoom with them, so obviously his facial expressions they can see. But even if he was on the phone, would you still have the same facial expressions?
Yes, you got to mimic. You got to play the role.
Yeah, because it's like an actor or actress in Hollywood. You know the cartoons you guys watch where they do the voiceovers? Has anybody ever gone and watched like documentaries on how they do the voiceovers with actor and actresses? They don't just sit back there with like a book and they're like this. And the cat said, go. And the cat, when he said go, he got really upset. You know what they're doing? They're like, and the cat said go. And when the cat did this, they went here. And they move around because that affects their tone. And your tone, I want everybody to listen to this. Your tone is the first thing your prospect hears. Did you know the brain hears your tone first before they start interpreting your words? So the way your tone come across triggers in the prospects, it's called the reptilian part of the brain. It triggers how they interpret the words you say, but they hear your tone first. Did everybody know that? I bet you didn't. So your tone is way more important than even what you're saying or asking. Now, your words are important too, but your tonality and body language, everybody reads in books, is 73% nonverbal and verbal, 73% of making the sale, but then nobody teaches you how to use your tone because nobody knows really. Unless you have a behavioral science background and psychology background, most people wouldn't know that, which we do. Okay. All right. That's a good connection question and good job on sharing your tone. Give us a good situation question that we taught you. There's several situation questions for your industry, but just give them one.
So for you right now, do you currently have like your money working for you, like in a 401k or an IRA?
Yeah. So it's just debate. Situation questions, they're more factual questions. But in your industry, it also actually builds a gap sometimes because they start to realize that, oh, maybe I'm not as good as what I thought by some of the questions that we teach you how to ask for your space. Okay, good. Those are situation questions can be boring, but the way we ask them with their tone can open people up.
Yeah, because you still need that information. You need that to be able to build that problem.
100%, because situation questions here, I want everybody to pay attention to me right now. Situation questions not only help you find out what the real situation is, but more importantly, it helps them find out what the real situation is, because most of your prospects don't just sit around thinking about their situation on Sunday afternoon, right? They don't just think about it. They might have an idea, but they don't understand the depth of it. They don't understand the consequences if they don't do anything. So what situation questions do is it helps them understand what the real situation is, because it's impossible for you to build a gap to where the prospect wants to go if they don't really understand where they're at right now. You can't build a gap to where they want to go if they don't really understand where they're at. And you can't tell them where they're at because that goes in one ear out the other. Your questioning ability and your tone influences them to open up where they internalize where they're at. There's a whole lot more training with that. Okay, I digress. Problem awareness. Give them several problem awareness questions you have to ask for your space, but give them one good problem awareness question.
Well, that's good. So I guess are you content with the results that you're getting with your 401k?
Okay, so you've had your money in this 401k. Do you like the returns you've been getting? See what I did there? Like verbal pause there. And I'm asking that more in of a curious / kind of skeptical tone.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I do that?
Because now you're wanting to be like, okay, just nailing it down into like the prospect.
So you've had your money in invested with, Ameriprise for the past 20 years. Now here's another way you can do it. So you've had your money invested with Ameriprise for 20 years. I mean, it can't be all doom and gloom over there. What do you like? Oh, I like this. I like that. And real quick after that, what would you change if you could though? Absolutely. Oh, I would change this. It automatically, because if you set it up with asking him, it can't be all, so it's like I'm getting them to pull me in. You've been with Ameriprise for 23 years. It can't be all doom and gloom over there. What do you like about those guys? Oh, I like this. I like that. What would you change though if you could? Oh, I would change this. It automatically opens them up because you first asked what they like. Can't be all doom and gloom. That's another problem awareness question you can use at the start, or the one you did, it works really well as well. Just so you know, you learn something new every day. All right, so let's go to solution awareness. How do you get them to start? Because problem awareness helps them build the gap where they start to realize not only do they have one problem, but now you help them feel that they have 2 or 3 or 4 of the problems they didn't realize they had, which now makes you look like the expert,
the authoritative.
The authority. Yeah, because now you've gotten them to think and internalize things they've never thought about before. And how do we as adults feel when somebody gets us to think about things we've never thought about before? We view them differently, right? We view them at a higher status. Mm-hmm. It's called situational status. A whole nother training for that. We don't have time. All right, solution awareness question. How do you get them to focus on what their future is going to look like once the newfound problems are solved?
So just to kind of roll into it, like now, just to have an understanding to kind of see things like through your point of view, like were you looking more along the lines of like a retirement, set up a legacy for the kids, or is this for like business and growth purposes?
Okay, and how do they typically? They just kind of give you an avenue. What do you do after? Because that's a surface level question that sets up another question. You have to ask that first.
Right.
And then they're like,
Because
"Oh, I want it for retirement." What would you ask then next?
so if they ask for the retirement, okay, like oh, like how long have you been looking?
Okay. Oh, how long? Oh, and what have you been looking at? Okay,
Mhm.
so having it set up
What
for
did you find?
retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah, setting up for retirement. Why so important to you now, though?
Mhm. Like,
I'm
has there
probing there.
anything that might have, like, held you back? And
So
then
what prevented you from finding that in the past though? If they said they
mhm.
hadn't been looking. Yeah, okay. So there's more there. There's a lot more there in solution awareness questions. All right, give them a consequence question. So now we get to there's a lot more there, folks. Don't just use one situation, one problem or in solution awareness. Jeremy, I didn't quadruple my sales. Well, yeah, because you're missing 99%. You don't know what you don't know. You're not going to learn all that here on a free live. I hate to say it like that. All right, so now that they've gotten to see what their future looks like once their newfound problems are solved, how do you rip that away from them with a consequence question where they like defend themselves on why they need to change?
Right, I go, "And Jeremy, I really enjoyed our conversation, and, like, I don't mean to offend you, but, like, have you ever thought, like, what happens if you don't do anything about this and you just end up leaving your money in the 401k, you go to retire, and the market has one of those big, massive downswings like in 2008 and 2020? What happens then?"
Yeah, I like that. Or you can even short it. What happens if you don't do anything about this? You leave the money in the 401k and then the market has a huge downswing in 2008. What would happen to your retirement then? See, just like I like that. You can just shorten it even more.
Okay.
That kind of little stuff like that you did is good, but if you shorten it down, what happens is it makes it fits. They understand it better because the longer you go, you
Mhm.
start to lose them.
Okay.
But if I shorten it, what happens if you don't do anything about this and you just keep? Now I'm going to start off skeptical and I'm going to end in a concerned tone. What
Mhm.
everybody watch my tone. What happens if you don't do anything about this and you end up leaving your money in a 401k, but then the market has a downturn like it did in '08? What would happen to your retirement at that point? See, why would I go into a concern tone at the end?
To make them concerned about the situation.
Well, and for them to feel I'm concerned for them
Yeah.
if they don't do anything. How do people respond to you when you ask the consequence?
They're like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want that. I don't want that." And then, like,
Okay.
"Are
So
you
it's
willing to,
important
like,
for you to,
settle for" yeah, then you
yeah,
just go into, like, "Are you willing to, like, settle for that?" And they're
yeah,
like,
because if they're like, oh gosh, that would be that would be
"Yeah,
horrible.
like,
So
I couldn't. Like, I don't want that." Then you do
you,
that, and then, like, we could give them, like, a little another one. It's like, I'm with you, but, like, you don't have to. Why not just push this off like other leaders and providers do?" That really helps me is because you detach
yeah.
from that, and they pull themselves back in.
So yeah, because it's a disarming thing to get them to pull you back in. So
Mhm.
you get them released, and then you get them to pull you back in. Because what can happen is you do that. What happens? You do blah blah blah, and they're like, oh my gosh, it would be so horrible. I mean, or if they're positive. So the way you do that, if they're positive, like, oh no, I need to do something. Yeah, but I mean, for you, why look at doing this now? I mean, like, why not push it down the road like
Mhm.
a lot of people do who end up not having anything for retirement? Or something like that. So
Yeah.
you give them like a lot of people do who, and you repeat back a negative thing they don't want. And it might not, I might even change it. Okay, but why look at doing this now? Like, why not push it down the road like a lot of people do who end up never being able to retire? Well,
I just
see,
don't
they
want
don't
that.
want to be like a lot of people who
No,
don't.
they don't. They're like, "It's time to change." Oh,
Yeah.
and I
Well, the
hear
reason why I need to do it now, see, that builds urgency.
mhm.
And like when Jacob first came on, he's like, man, I don't really get people that say I want to think it over anymore. I don't get really people that say I want to keep looking around. Do you know why? Because the questions we taught him in his tone triggers massive urgency in his prospects where they view him as understanding their unique situation the most. And when you feel like a company or a person understands your unique situation the most, do you feel like you need to think it over, keep looking around?
They
No.
just don't want to. They're like, they literally tell me like, "All right, let's go." Like, "What's the process? Like, how do we sign up?"
Yeah. Do you like that better than trying to chase and push and pressure?
It's so much easier. Like I
You make a
feel,
lot more money?
oh, it's so much easier. It's like I tell you guys, you should join.
Well, I don't know. You know, why look at advanced sales skills now? Like, why not push it down the road like unsuccessful salespeople would?
It's their
See,
choice. That's
success
theirs.
is just a choice.
It
Choose
is.
well. Okay, somebody on Facebook says, and I just see it as Facebook user because I'm on Streamer. They say, does the presentation come on the second call with Coach Jacob or on 2-call closing? Do you resurface their emotion?
So on the beginning call, it's just a phone call. Like I call them, just
Triage, yeah.
yeah, just triage them. Then I schedule the Zoom, and then how we do that is because we give them homework.
Yeah.
It's a little more so they fill it out, and then because there's questions on the form that you can kind of resurface back, and then you start into the problem awareness right there.
Yeah, because you have to get them to relive the pain. You have to build
Yep.
the gap. So you build a little bit of a gap on that first call. That first call is what, 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, it's like 7-12 minutes.
Yeah, you're just kind of qualifying them to make sure you can help them, qualify them to
Yep.
make sure they're not homeless or something. And then
Yeah.
you help build a little bit of a gap. Because if you
Yep.
can't build a gap on that first call, there's no need they won't book a second call. Or if they do book, they won't show up.
No, they won't.
They just won't. They'll just cancel. They just won't show up. So you build a gap. You go through a little bit of problem awareness, build a gap, book them in the next call, and then start from problem awareness on to rebuild that gap and make it much bigger. And then you go through your presentation. And
Yeah, you make it expand because then like you can future pace at like it's just exponential.
Yeah. And okay, good. Perfect. All right. Any last words of advice for anybody maybe new to sales that's just looking at getting started, or maybe just got started, or even like a vet who maybe they're already making 150 grand a year? Like, why learn more? They know everything.
I feel like there's a point where like a couple months that I thought I was doing just fine selling final expense. I kind of like just let everything like kind of simmer off, and you just see everything like flatline. Then you just get back into the training. You just dive full force into it, and everything just rewards yourself. Like when you actually put in the work.
Yeah. Look, here's what I always say. If you're a salesperson and you're still listening to sales trainers that are saying selling is a numbers game, you're going to struggle, because selling is not a numbers game. It's a skills game. I want you to imagine if you were LeBron James or Steph Curry, NBA basketball players, if they thought that basketball was a numbers game, oh, just shoot it up as many times and eventually you'll get 1 out of 10 that will go in. Well, if they thought basketball was a numbers game, they would have never made the high school basketball team, let alone the NBA.
And I can kind of,
yeah.
It's like I can kind of add to that. Like in the beginning, like I would dial 400 to like 800 dials. Now I do like 100 to 200 maximum, and I still book the same amount of appointments that I need every single day, and I'm doing so much less. Absolutely.
So instead of 14 hours a day, you work like 7 or 8. A little bit of a different lifestyle. And you make 20 times more. So selling, you got to start looking at selling as a skills game, because the more advanced skills you acquire, the less you work and the less it becomes a numbers game, because now it's about the quality of each conversation rather than the quantity. Makes no sense. All right. You guys want to start learning advanced skills like Jacob and tens of thousands of our clients. There's probably a reason why Selling Power Magazine, the #1 largest distributorship for companies in sales, ranked 7th level as a top 20 sales training company in the entire world. In the entire world, there's tens of thousands of sales training companies. We're in the top 20. We're actually ranked number 9, but I'm not saying anything. We're the only company in there that is not at least 25 years old or 4 years old. And the companies ahead of us all have been in business for 35 years or higher. There's possibly, just maybe potentially, a reason why we have over 15,000 testimonials in the last 4 years since we started, like Jacob and thousands of others. You want to start acquiring those skills? Just a step away. Message me directly right now. If you're on LinkedIn, the Facebook group, Facebook business page, my Facebook, message me directly right now. If you're on YouTube, you see that purple banner underneath me and Jacob that keeps scrolling down, says Facebook group salesrevolution.pro. You got to join the Facebook group salesrevolution.pro if you want to message me directly. And either myself or one of my stunt doubles will message you back some different options if you want to sell more in your industry. We train every industry on planet Earth right now, according to Forbes, all 158 and all the subsets. You want to acquire the skills like Jacob, it's just a message away from me. Okay. Jacob, love you, man. Congratulations. 24-year-old making 60 grand a month in commissions. If you keep going and just you keep on the training calls and little tweaks, just even a few little tweaks I gave you right there, you know what's going to happen? The 60 is going to go to 80. The 80 is going to go to 100. 100 is going to go 120, and the sky's the limit for you. Congratulations. It was possibly a good decision for you.
It was the best decision ever. I can tell you that.
Well done, man. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. I will be going live in the Facebook group next Tuesday at 6:15 p.m. Eastern with a 30-minute training. Thanks, Jacob.
See you, Jeremy. Thank you.
Enjoy that cash flow. See you, everybody.
We'll try.